And whenever you're ready.
Okay. Tom, doing a story on comedians and their life on the road.
Oh.
When you were doing a lot of stand-up comedy, like the smaller clubs,
Yes.
what kind of routine did you follow when you traveled?
Well, I would never get there on time. That was my first thing. When I got there, if I was there for like 5 or 6 days, I would, you know, I had to make friends the first night at the club. I'd make friends with the club people so I could have somebody to party with. And then I'd start making friends in the community. And by the day I left, everybody hated me. But I had a good time, and I think they did too. But you know, you kind of bond with people for 3, 4, 5 days, and you know, you're real close. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to call you, man, and we're going to be buddies. We'll meet in L.A. And then, like, nobody ever wanted to call me, and I didn't call them because you know I couldn't afford it. But it was fun though too, because it was when I was younger, and there's a lot of exciting things to do.
Now, let's go to an early movie of yours, Hero, with Dustin Hoffman. You're the bartender, and the bar is giving him advice.
Yeah.
How surreal an experience was that for you, to act opposite Dustin Hoffman like that?
Well, it was incredibly surreal. I was actually with my family at a movie theater, and the preview came on, and that was like my big Hollywood moment. And the preview was long. You know, I was in the whole preview, so it was like my whole time in the movie almost. But it was great, and seeing me with him, and I saw him on Larry King, and people were asking him what he thought of me. You know, here's Dustin Hoffman, what does he think of me? And he was like, you know, trying to remember what I'd told him and stuff about my life. It was very funny, and he's a very nice guy. And it was even more surreal sitting there across from him at the bar.
Part of the reason I got involved with films is when I was in the 8th grade, I watched Charlton Heston shoot a movie called Skyjacked. I remember what a presence he had with all the crew members. Now, sitting in that boardroom type set, what kind of impact does Chuck Heston have when he walks in on all the people around him?
Oh, I have a lot of respect for him. You know, it was and you know it was funny to see Arnold we were all kind of like kids, you know, and listened. He told a lot of stories, and you know, you hear one thing, you know, the guy's politics, and you know, the gun stuff and all this stuff, and you know, censorship. And then you meet him, and you know, he's a great guy. And then I thought to myself, well, you know, he thinks the same way that my grandpa thinks, or my parents. So, you know, it's not so strange. But he was a wonderful guy.
Now, you shot in locations all around the country. Shooting in Washington, D.C., what kind of special considerations or like bizarre goings-on happen when you shoot in the nation's capital?
There's a lot of parades and a lot of people, motorcades going by, and it was actually pretty fun out there though. It was a very nice area, and we shot at Georgetown and we shot other places, but it was really a nice place, and I stayed there for over a month, and you know, we liked it a lot, and people were really nice. And it's weird, it's political, it's compared to show business. So it's sort of like Hollywood, except for politicians.
I love the van you were in, and I couldn't help but notice in the beginning when you're twirling all those dials.
Yes.
Now, how much of that stuff actually worked in there?
Well, I think it all worked until I started twirling the dials. But there was a lot of working stuff in there, and you know, several times I didn't know stuff was actual working stuff, and it was, and you know, we had to fix it.
There's some great airborne stuff in the helicopter with jets flying by, like shot through the window.
Yes.
How difficult was it to coordinate all that?
It was, well, I'm sure that it was incredibly difficult for Jim and everybody else. For Arnold and I couldn't see the planes coming from behind us, so I just had to guess, and nobody could tell me when they were coming. And if I missed pointing at the planes, then they had to go around again. It cost like 20 grand for the fuel to go back to the island to refuel, come back up. So I just got lucky and just pointed, and they were there, and it was very relieving.
You know, this movie has a lot of explosions, a lot of machine gun battles. I've been on sets where that type of thing has happened, and I know how incredibly loud it is.
Yeah.
How bizarre was that? Were you prepared for all the noise that was going to happen?
Well, the stuff that I probably wasn't prepared for is the Harrier jets. How much wind they, you know, they cause a huge thing. You know, you couldn't park around them when they're taking off. I'll tell you that. But it was, and those big, they're such great machines. That was probably the coolest thing.
Okay. And you spent a lot of time with Arnold sitting in cars. Now, what did you two talk about in between takes?
We talked about life in general. We talked about maybe the scene for a minute, and just kind of, you know, gave each other a hard time, and talked about whatever was happening. Got a lot of good advice in that car.
Okay, great. All right.
Thank you.
Probably
Thank
a lot of great financial advice too.
Yes.